The UK's finest special boat service, formed in 1940. Let's go.
The Elite Special Boat Service, SBS, Britain's equivalent of the US Navy SEALs, took control of an oil tanker on Sunday after a suspected hijacking in the English Channel.
Now, this was some of the first press you've had about the SBS that I can recall in a while. They don't make the book tours in the CNN circuit. Now, the SBS as well, from the most recent information you can get, it's probably about 200 to 250 of them. So there's not a lot of men in this unit, albeit they do take women, and there could be one for all we know. Let's keep going.
The SBS stormed the Liberian-registered Nave Andromeda after dark and gained control in about 9 minutes. The raid, conducted by troops who descended on ropes from Royal Navy helicopters, ended a 10-hour deadlock that began when the crew sounded a distress call along England's southern coast, near the Isle of Wight. 7 stowaways, believed to be Nigerians seeking asylum in the UK, have been detained and are suspected of hijacking the vessel, according to the BBC.
You know, these guys were probably similar to the siege on the Iranian embassy, just fired up when they heard there was a hijacked vessel. Maybe it was their time. From the looks of these fellas, they're not big into press, or at least they don't do it compared to other units we all know of. But let's keep going.
The 16 SBS members took the vessel by fast roping from 4 Royal Navy helicopters in what Defence Secretary Ben Wallace described as dark skies and worsening weather. All of the tanker's 22 crew members are safe, according to the UK Ministry of Defence. What is the Special Boat Service? You may have heard of the SAS, Special Air Service, the UK military's renowned Special Forces unit whose actions gained global attention during the 1980 Iranian embassy siege.
One thing unique about the SBS compared to, say, the SEAL teams is that any branch of the armed services can try out for it. So you don't need to say, get out of the U.S. Army, sign up in the U.S. Navy to try out for selection in SBS. That's a pretty substantially different, less hassle than we have here in the States.
The Royal Navy describes the Special Boat Service, SBS, as its answer to the SAS. The Navy's branch of the Special Forces is also highly skilled and secretive over the detail of its operations. The SBS mainly recruits from the Royal Marine Commandos, a part of the military already considered to be an elite force.
Now, if you look at the selection process, it looks almost identical, about 6 months, to what the SEALs do. Now, it says selection and then a training course, but all that's going to be selection to see if they're going to invest the real money in you, from what I can get looking at it. Now, if you're taking guys that are already Royal Marines and then putting them through into SBS selection, they should have a far less attrition rate. But again, it's hard to find much out about these guys. There's not too many books or movies written about them.
It is an elite maritime counter-terrorism unit, made up of small teams who exploit the element of surprise to undertake daring undercover raids, the Navy says. The SBS began life in the Second World War as a specialist unit trained to undertake difficult amphibious operations. It was first referred to as the Folbot Troop, named after the wood and canvas kayaks used by the unit, before being redesignated as the Special Boat Section. In April 1943, breaking off from the SAS, it went under the command of Lord Jellicoe as the Special Boat Squadron. In the service's infancy, men would paddle ashore on small vessels launched from submarines in order to sabotage enemy equipment and infrastructure.
World War II was the birth of pretty much all the formalized SF units from what we can see. If you look back at the SAS, same with the United States. We had them in informal manner. We always had some sort of scouts. Jumping out of planes was a new novelty in World War II. So it really changed the complexion of combat as we know it today.
In 1983, the unit was renamed the Special Boat Service. The SBS still plays an active, although a very secretive, role in military operations.
I can imagine the practice for that on everybody's part. The helicopter pilot, the crew chief, whoever's driving the boat, where the helicopter's partially underwater, the deck is, and they're going to drive the boat onto that. I've never seen that in action, but that must be some hell of a practice getting to that point, because if you screw it up, the helicopter's in the drink. The whole thing could be a disaster waiting to happen if they don't do it correctly. That's a pretty amazing feat to watch there.
SBS and SAS have a long-standing rivalry, with both striving to be considered the world's most elite special forces unit. Recruits for both must undergo some of the toughest selection processes on the planet, and the UK Special Forces are thought to have an average 90% failure rate for selection.
Everybody wants to be a SEAL or in the SBS until they do something like that. Rough seas, in a Zodiac, trying to scale the side of this boat. Everybody's going a different direction. You're getting your body whacked against the hull, and it's cold. I think I'm going to pass. Look at this guy. You can get a pretty good handle on why PT, physical fitness, is important, right? He's climbing that little rope ladder with everything swaying, however many knots the boat is moving. His boat, the ship the objective he's getting on, and the thing's spinning as you saw. And there's no going down. There's no safety net. So all that training you see in the videos, you can see why it matters. And that could be scaling a ship with Marines or getting off a ship. But you add level of complexity now, and it's a small group coming in a small Zodiac, small rope ladder, no room for error. And most of this, we'll call it footage, B-roll they're getting here, is just a collection of things that only we can get. We can't get real active footage. There is no Class 234. There's just not the same information. So even when you look at it on the internet, there's very few things written about him. When that recent objective was taken in the boat and the hostages were saved, that was the first thing you've heard about the SA or the SBS in quite a while. Let's stop there with the B-roll. With respect to the SAS versus the SBS, do you think going forward we should define the roles as they were originally designed? In other words, the SBS sticks to maritime operations, the SAS sticks to land operations, because everything's been mixed up with 2 decades in the desert.